Hello dear students. Today we are going to discuss about the second endoparasite, which is the Fasciella hepatica, which is commonly called as the liver fluke. It is a digenetic trematode. That means, as we discussed in our introduction, that the digenetic parasite is the parasite which requires two hosts for the completion of life cycle. And this Fasciella hepatica is requiring two hosts for the completion of the life cycle. That's why it is called as the digenetic parasite, and it is belonging from the trematode class. That's why this is called as the digenetic trematode, and it is living in a bile duct or liver tissues of sheep, goat, and the cattle, as well as in human being also. It is categorized as a member of class Trematoda of phylum Platyhelminthes. Look here, as we are saying, it is a digenetic trematode because this is a trematode because it is included in the class Trematoda, which are generally cylinder-shaped worm-like parasites, and these are belonging from the phylum Platyhelminthes. Just look at the life cycle. It has a digenetic life cycle. That means it is requiring two hosts for the completion of its life cycle. Or generally, the primary or the definitive host is the sheep, goat, cattle, or the man. That means these are the primary hosts in which they complete their reproductive part of the life cycle. That's why they are called as the primary host. And these are the sheep, goat, cattle, as well as the man, as well as the secondary host in which a sexual part of the life cycle of the parasite is completed, and in case of this Fasciella hepatica, the Limnia peregrina, which is commonly called as the pond snail, is the secondary host, and in this secondary host they will complete their asexual part of the life cycle. When you consider about their sexual life, then they are the hermaphrodite. That means both the male and the female sexes or reproductive organs will be found in the same organism. That means in higher animals, male and the females are different, but in this case, in this parasites, these parasites are the hermaphrodite. That means this liver fluke is a hermaphrodite animal. That means both the sexes found in a single organism. But in some cases, the cross fertilization takes place after adults copulate in definitive host. Look here, in definitive host, their life sexual part of the life cycle will be completed. And in some cases, the cross fertilization also takes place. That means if there are two parasites, two liver flukes are present in the same host, then the sperm of A will be fertilized the egg of the B parasite, and sperm of B parasite will be fertilizes the sperm of the parasite A. This condition, that means the crossing occurs. This will be called as the cross fertilization. And after the fertilization, the female lays thousands of eggs at a time. That means the female Fasciella hepatica will lays thousands of eggs at a time. And generally, the eggs are white, yellow brown, operculated, and measuring about 140 by 80 micrometers in size. That means they are oval in shape. That means length will be 140 micrometers and width will be the 80 micrometers. The eggs pass out via the bile duct into the intestine. Okay, the eggs. Look at the figure. That is at the top the adult liver fluke is shown. Then the eggs in the second picture. When you move clockwise direction, then here we can easily see that the eggs will be present in the egg capsule. Okay, Then the egg will be passed out via bile duct into the intestine. Look here, uh, the eggs are formed or fertilization will be taken place inside the liver or the bile duct. After fertilization, these eggs will passes into the intestine of the definitive host. Okay, and they are eliminated along with the faces of the vertebrate host. That means along with the fecal matter, they will be eliminated from the body of the vertebrate host. Okay, that means they are fertilized inside the bile duct. Then they migrated towards the intestine, and after that, they are uh, released outside the body of the vertebrate host through the fecal matter. And then after releasing from the vertebrate host, that means when they are come on the moist surface or inside the water, the mature miracidia escape out through the operculum. Look at the egg capsule. When you observe the egg capsule, then the eggs are covered with the operculum. Okay, sorry, the eggs are covered with the egg capsule, and there is a minute opening which is called as the operculum. In from the operculum, this miracidae larva will be escape inside the water or on the moist surface, and as well as it finds the intermediate host which is the snail, and it will penetrate host body through boring papilla and reaches the pulmonary sac. Look here, as they are moving on the moist surface or inside the water, as well as they found the secondary host which is the pond snail. They penetrate the body or skin of the pond snail by using the boring papilla. And there are when you observe in case of the in the diagram miracidae larva, then at the top pointed region is present which is called as the boring papilla, okay, which are used to bore or to puncture the host skin. And after boring through the skin, they reaches the pulmonary sac, okay, in the pulmonary sac of the pond snail. And after that it changes into the elongated sac like larva which is called as the sporocyst. Okay, in when you move in clockwise direction, then you can observe that the sporocyst after the miracidae, the larval stage is the sporocyst, and the sporocyst larva will be undergoes an embryonic development to give rise to next type of 5 to 8 larvae which are called as the radia. Okay, next to the sporocyst, the next stage is the sporocyst radia larva. Okay, at the bottom of the diagram, these larvae have been shown. Actually the labels are not are there, but you can understand. The germ cells in the radia get differentiated into second generation daughter radia. Okay, now germ cells which are present in the body of the radia will be get differentiated into second generation daughter radia. Okay, then in winter season, fourth larval stage is developed which is called as the cercaria. Look at next to the radia, the next stage is the cercaria, which is the fourth larval stage. First is miracidia, second is sporocyst, third is radia, and fourth is the cercaria. And each radia generally produces 15 to 20 cercaria which are released into the surrounding water. Look at, they are now leaving the body of the secondary host. That means the cercaria larvae will be released inside the water, and the whole cycle will be completed in 30 to 60 days. आणि पूर्ण cycle आहे ते किती दिवस लागतात? 30 ते 60 दिवस. Then this cercaria larva will be gets attached to the grasses, lose their tail and undergoes encystment. Okay, okay, the single cercaria is shown. After that, there are some body parts, that means the tail. Actually tail is needed to for the locomotion inside the water, but in the miracidae larva, as the miracidae larva is static, that's why the tail is not needed. That means they will be lose their tail, and they undergo the encystment. That means these larvae will be covered inside the cyst wall, and now this larva is called as the metacercaria. Then the metacercaria will be waits on the leaves of grasses for the change of the host. Okay, they will do nothing. They only attaches, the metacercaria will be attaches on the grasses. But when the animals are grazing, that means sheep, goat, or the cattle are grazing, then they will be accidentally swallowed by the sheep or goat. Along with the grasses, these metacercaria will be also enter inside the body of the primary host. Then, after entering inside the digestive system, its cyst wall gets dissolved by the intestinal enzymes and active cercaria are liberated. ओके, म्हणजे बॉडीमध्ये गेल्यानंतर त्याचे जे एक्सटर्नल जे सिस्ट वॉल होती मॅटासर्केरियाची, तर ते बॉडीमध्ये होस्ट प्रायमरी होस्टच्या बॉडीमध्ये जे डायजेस्टिव्ह एन्झाईम्स असतील तर ते काय करतील, तर त्याचे सिस्ट वॉल जे आहे तर ते डिझॉल्व करतील. अँड आफ्टर दॅट द ॲक्टिव्ह सर्केरिया आर लिबरेटेड. आणि त्याच्यानंतर मग जे सर्केरिया मेटासर्केरिया होते इन्सिस्टेड, तर त्या आता सर्केरिया त्या ठिकाणी रिलीज होतील. अँड दे एंटर द बॉडी कॅव्हिटी अँड अल्टिमेटली रीच टू द लिव्हर टू अटेन मॅच्युरिटी. दॅट मीन्स these will be the cercaria, active cercaria will be released, then they will be moved inside the body cavity and reaches to the liver, and after reaching in the liver, they can attain the sexual maturity. Adult can survive in sheep for 5 years and 5 to 9 years in man. Look at their survival capacity. They can survive in sheep for the 5 years, and when you can say about the human being, then they can survive for the 5 to 9 years. Okay, when they found the favorable conditions, when the immunity of the host becomes weaker, then they will be show their effect. Then after that, what they does inside the body of the host, which is called as the pathogenicity. The disease caused by the Fasciella hepatica is termed as the fasciculosis. Okay, that means this is the disease which is named as the fasciculosis. This is the disease which is caused by the Fasciella hepatica. It is primarily responsible for extensive damage to the liver through the migration of young ones, resulting into the liver rot. Look here, they are living in the liver or bile duct for 5 years. That means at that time they are continuously migrating inside the organ. That means they are the liver, or in some cases it will be bile duct. Look here, and this will be causes the damage. That means they are requiring the path, so they damages the cells or tissues which are present in the liver, and this will be causes the liver rot. In the diagram, the liver, the damaged liver is shown, and it is characterized by vomiting, persistent diarrhea, hepatomegaly with the eosinophilia 40 to 85%. Look here, here this disease will be characterized by the vomiting. That means the patient will be vomit, or host will be vomit. Then they will be suffer from the persistent diarrhea. Then the hepatomegaly, that means the normal constitution of the blood will be changed, and here the count of the eosinophils will be increases to 40 to 85%. In bile duct, they may interfere with the passage of bile, causing the obstructive jaundice. That means they will be cause the liver rot inside the liver, but when they are inside the bile duct, then they will cause the obstructive jaundice. Then the epithelial lining of bile duct grows in uncontrolled manner, leading to the adenomata. Okay. If there is lining due to this infection or obstructive jaundice, that means obstructive jaundice. That means here some obstructions for the flow of the bile secretion will be caused, due to which the bile duct will be grows in uncontrolled manner, and this disease is called as the adenomata. So, which are the control measures? How we can control this parasite? Then, the first control measures for human is the human infection can be checked by eradication of diseases in animal. ओके. ज्या ॲनिमल्सला डिसीज झालेले आहे त्याचं इरेडिकेशन करणं हा एक सोपा मार्ग असेल. Then the population of pond snails, which is the intermediate host or secondary host in infected area, should be controlled by melacoside copper sulfate. That means, if the secondary, that means for the completion of their life cycle, they will be requiring two hosts. But as here, if we eradicate the pond snail, then the life cycle will be not completed. That means the asexual part of the life cycle will be not completed inside the primary host. That's why we can avoid the or prevent or control the spread of this Phasalia hepatica by eradication of the secondary host, which is the pond snail. And breeding in pond snail shall be checked by reducing the vegetation near the pond. Okay, that means this is a preventive measure which can be taken for the reducing the increased rate of the pond snail. ओके. व्हेजिटेशन जे असतं म्हणजे पॉन्डच्या कडेला तर ते व्हेजिटेशन कमी करणं की ज्याच्यामुळे त्यांना ब्लिडिंगचा चान्स नाही भेटणार. तर द ट्रीटमेंट इफ बाय taking continuous preventive measures, still also there are some chances of the diseases, and if disease is caused, then the treatment should be necessary, and that's why next topic is the treatment. One of the most effective drug against the fasciitis is the bithinol. Look at the bithinol is the most effective drug against the fasciitis. And a liver rot is treated by a dose of certain drugs like the imetin hydrochloride, phenylene compounds, or the tetrachloroethane. Look at these are the drugs which can be used to treat the liver rot. That means the imetin hypochlorite, then the phenylene compounds, or the tetrachloroethane. Okay, thank you.